So we are officially live with Harry Needham here. So Harry, so something that really intrigued me here is that, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, they hate their job, right? They're not happy, especially after they graduate college, because they expect to have, a really good paying job. And not even that, but, they get to a job and they don't like it at all. And they're like, damn, I'm going to be stuck in this cubicle or stuck in this job for X amount of years, right? But you dropped your 9-to-5 job and you became a social media marketing owner or agency owner. And you're also known for growing on Instagram, right? But before growing on Instagram, knowing all the Instagram tactics, what was your origin story into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I actually started off in architecture. I was studying architecture at uni, and I graduated last year in July or August, whenever you usually graduate. And I went into a job in architecture, and I hated it. I really hated it. Didn't enjoy it at all. And the whole sort of lifestyle of being an architect, it just turned out it just wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy being, not so much being told what to do, because that comes with having a job. If you're an employee, you do get told what to do, but it was the types of jobs I had to do, which I didn't enjoy at all. And I didn't really like the tone of voice that I was being spoken to with. It's just I didn't really agree with at the time. And I didn't realize this, but until I went out into the actual world of work, I didn't realize I actually wanted to have the freedom to do what I want when I want, so to speak, and to work how I want to work, and to put my own ideas into things. And in that job, I didn't have that, and I wouldn't have that in architecture or in the world of architecture for, years and years to come. And I wasn't prepared to wait that long. So in the years while I was at uni anyway, I was doing a side job, a little side hustle, which was graphic design. I was just doing some graphic design work for a client, someone I actually knew. And that was, only a small amount of money per month, but it was a good thing to do. And actually I was getting a lot of satisfaction from it. While I was doing that, I also started my own social media page on Instagram, which was my first ever page, which was one called Architips, which was an architecture page. Then I started another one, which is called Infinity Setup, excuse me, which is still live today, which is like a desk setup sort of tech page. And that took off while I was at university, and I really enjoyed growing that page. And I realized when I was in my architecture job now that I had an opportunity. I've got a client who I'm doing graphic design for, who I've been doing it for about 2 or 3 years. I know their business inside out, and I know from a conversation we've had before that he's looking for someone to do their social media. So I saw the opportunity and said to him, look, I know your business, blah, blah, blah. I basically sold the service and went from earning, let's say, £200 a month to a retainer of £2,000 a month. One big jump. More money than my architecture job was paying me. And that was it. That was a sort of light bulb moment for me where it clicked that I'm in the wrong job. I'm doing the wrong thing. I've got a skill here and I need to use it. So it was from that moment I ended up leaving the architecture job. And then in sort of January, February this year, I started sort of going all in on my social media marketing agency. And then in March this year, that's when I started this current page, which has just sort of taken off and been really amazing. So yeah, it's been quite a crazy journey so far.
Wait, so you said after your very first retainer, you questioned yourself about being in your current job and you left, or did you kind of continue, getting a salary from that architecture job and then eventually scaled your agency and then, went on your own?
No, I left pretty much as soon as I could, simply because I knew from that moment that this was the way I had to go and I couldn't be in that job anymore. I also knew that if I wanted to actually build a business, it's very hard to build a business while also working in a 9-to-5 job, or it was a 9-to-6 job. It's going to be really hard to do that and deliver a good service for that client and grow the business and do my own thing as well. Like, it was just too much hassle for what it was worth. And luckily for me at the time, I was still living at my parents' house. I'm now in my own house, but I was still at my parents' house. I didn't have bills to pay. I didn't have anything important I had to pay for. So I had a lot of flexibility. I was able to take that risk, which some people aren't able to do, but luckily I was able to. and it was a risk that paid off in the end.
Mm-hmm. So for your agency, was it full stack, or was it just primarily growing, maybe organically or through Facebook ads, how to grow someone's Instagram page, social media? What was it exactly?
Yeah, so actually, funny enough, it started off as more as a branding and a marketing agency. So it was actually more about doing sort of brand strategy, implementing like an actual visual identity for clients. And that's what I'd done with my first client, done that first, and then translating that into a social media sort of strategy and content and all those things. But I realized over time that actually the branding aspect of things I enjoyed, but it wasn't what I was good at, and it wasn't what I wanted to become better at. It was actually the social media side, which I just picked up naturally from doing it myself. And I realized I had to go all in on that, because I got to a point in my page where people were coming to me for help, potential clients, and they wasn't asking for branding. They were asking for social media content, how to grow their page, how to get more customers. So there was a certain demand for a service, and it would have been stupid of me to try and deliver a different service to what was being demanded. So I initially eventually not niche down a lot, but I niched down my service offering into content creation, Facebook ads, and also management, page management. But even the management side, I'm actually looking at potentially getting rid of that at some point. Not anytime soon, but maybe in the future at some point, and niching down even more. But right now, it's those three things, plus sort of like consulting and coaching,
Mm-hmm.
which is like the whole sort of offer that I have to clients on the table.
Yeah. So would you curate content for any local business, say a restaurant or, a boutique, and work on the social media and then just grow it? Is that what you did, or did you focus on one specific kind of industry?
Yeah, no, I've kept it completely open, completely open. If the thing is right, if you know what niche you want to be in, then 100% it's much better to just pick a niche, let's say, for example, gym owners or gyms, and just stick to it. It is better to do that because you can build up expertise, you can build up authority within that space. It can be much easier to sign clients in the future. But for me, coming from a place of, I'm just starting a business, I didn't want to just pigeonhole myself into one direction, because let's say I did choose to go with only gym owners. Well, then what about in a year's time? I've got all these great testimonials from gym owners, but I want to change niche and I want to do something else. Then it's going to be very difficult to say, oh, hi, a restaurant owner, I've been doing all this work. Oh, okay, show some testimonials. Oh, you've only worked with gym owners before. So it's very difficult to then change direction if you want to. But also you need to experiment anyway, find who you enjoy working with the most and what direction you want to go in. And that's still really a process I'm going through myself. So nothing's set in stone yet.
No, yeah, that makes sense because, not only with having your own agency, but across any business, you want to experiment with different business models, different ideas until you find something that you love, right? But let's say you do have your own agency or you're thinking about creating your own one. Of course, the guidelines or the rule of thumb is to stick to one niche, like you kind of said, right? But I mean, if things are working out for you, doing things across different industries, then why not, right? And as long as you're still experimenting, still figuring yourself out, what you want to do, then that's okay, right? And I think as long as you're happy with what you're doing with your work and you're getting results, you can always pivot in the end. There's no one right way in creating a business or an agency, right? Everyone has their own unique flavor of adding things to it. So how long did it take you to really see progress? Maybe, you said you had a talent, right? You got your first client, your first retainer. How long did it take you to get more clients? Was it all through word of mouth, or did you kind of use your personal brand, for example, to get more clients?
Yeah, so I've always shied away from things like cold calls, cold emails, cold outreach. Basically, I've always shied away from that. Not because it doesn't work, because it does, but just simply because I've never felt comfortable doing that. And I also know that that's quite an intense thing. You have to put a lot of effort into cold outreach to get little return from it. So I knew that, with my personal brand on Instagram and how well that was doing, it would be silly of me to not focus on that and not go all in on that. because again, I saw the opportunity, I saw there's a lot of interest around the page, and I had to take that chance. I had to take that risk. So I looked at my options and said, right, I've got two options here. I go all in on my business, forget about the personal brand, and build up a business to whatever level I wanted to, or I keep the business as it is, consistent, just ticking over, but focus on my personal brand and build that up. And that's what I chose to do, simply because that's the long-term vision I have, which is that I personally believe that the next few decades are going to be dominated not by businesses, but by personal brands. We see it with Gary Vee, see it with Russell Brunson, Tony Robbins, Jay Shetty. There's a handful of people who are really starting to forge a place, a unique space for themselves. That's something I'm aspiring to do. I'm not saying I'm going to be the next Jay Shetty or Russell Brunson or whatever, but that's what I'm aspiring for. Not obviously in 10, 20 or whatever, but in 20, 30 years time, I want to be a big player. So I have to focus on my personal brand now, because the way I've looked at it, the way it's worked for me, is that the more I grow my personal brand, the more authority I build, the more expertise I build, and I become like a magnet. So I'm just attracting clients all the time. I don't have to reach out to companies now, because my personal brand is bringing people to me, because I have the attention, the authority, and the expertise. And that has been growing my business alone, just having a personal brand on Instagram. So it's such a powerful thing, but you have to either go all in on it or go all in on your business. I think it's very difficult to try and balance the two. But obviously I'm interested to see if there's anyone who has been able to do that and balance the two, and grow both at the same time.
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely hard allocating your time between your personal brand and your business, right? But if you can combine both, that would be ideal, right? And I totally agree that in the next 10 years, and you're seeing it with it now, businesses are created around a personal brand, right? So with Gary Vee, in his agency, people think that they're working with him, but in reality, you're probably not. But the fact that it's his face there and he's online 24/7, you have that perception, right? And really what he's doing is that he's scaling the unscalable. He's scaling himself, right? And you look at that with Tesla, with Elon Musk. I think another entrepreneur kind of said this, but he said, yeah, he has so much influence in Twitter that with one tweet, good or bad, it can really affect the stock price of Tesla, right? So for example, like when he went on the Joe Rogan podcast and he took a hit, smoking like bud, his stock price went down. And that's crazy. I don't know who the CEO of, Home Depot is, but I'm pretty sure if he or she were to do that, we'd probably not know. Like it probably won't be affected, but because Elon Musk is a huge figurehead, he's a huge personal brand, he has the influence, right? And it's just crazy. So yeah, I think in the next 10 years, building a personal brand is important. And, it's easier said than done. Obviously, you need to have that, that will to really show your face. I actually struggled with it too, because I don't really know what to post as a personal brand, but I think you have to get out of your shell, be really comfortable. And, because it's true. If you do like a block diagram and people prefer to talk with the person rather than a logo, right? And they feel a stronger connection. And so if you build a personal brand, you build rapport with your audience, with your fans, that can lead to indirect sales, indirect leads, a community, and there's a stronger bond, right?
Yeah, no, 100%, and the fact is that is the way the world's moving, in the sense that people don't want to do business with a faceless brand. That's why influencer marketing is becoming bigger, because people want to see an actual person promote a product and not just, a weird advert or whatever it is. And that's why, personal brands, Gary Vee, again, Russell Brunson, all these people, that's why they're doing so well, because they are the face of their brand. And if the thing is, right, with a business, they try to be liked by everyone. They try to be liked by as many people as possible. And what happens then is no one really loves them and no one really hates them. So it's just quite in the middle. Differences with a personal brand is that you're going to get people who hate you. And I can guarantee there's people who hate me for whatever reason. And there's going to be people who like you, and there's going to be people who love you. And that's the difference between a personal brand and a business. Not all businesses, because you've got people like Apple, and who are actually creating that culture. But the majority of businesses don't have the culture. They don't have that tribe following of people who actually love, the business and everything that it encompasses. And that's why personal brand is so important, because you're relating to a person. It's much easier to relate to that person, and right off the bat, do I like this person or do I not? And if you do, then you're invested in everything they do. I put a post out quite a while ago now, and it was, the title was something like, I used to design toilets, or something like that, right? It's got nothing to do with what I talk about, but people still loved it. People still engaged with it. People still liked it. People still shared it, because it was coming from me and from my page. So of course I couldn't get away with just posting anything and everything I wanted. But the whole point is that if a business, I can't think of an example, but just a random business in the world tried to then talk about something completely unrelated to what they are, no one would really care, or people would be like, what are you going on about? But that's not the case. That's not the case with a personal brand.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Right, Harry, a lot of people are saying that there's an echo. I don't know if it's in my part or on your part. I mean, this is the very first time I'm doing an Instagram live.
Yeah.
I mean, in worst case scenario, we'll continue like this. But yeah, I just don't know if it's me or not, to be honest.
I think it'll be both of us, because
Both of us?
it can hear me talking directly to the phone, and it can also hear you talking through my laptop to the phone. So that's why. So
yeah.
I think we probably would have both needed earphones. I've not got any near me. So
now, then again, I told Harry last minute about this IG live. It was supposed to be just a pre-recording, so no worries. But everyone's saying that even though with the echo, we still have a lot of value. Good. But it's okay though. We'll just continue. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't me, because it's my first time doing an IG live, to be honest with you. So you said you started your current page right now, your personal brand, in March, right?
Yeah.
And it grew to 90K. And, I think Robert Murray was on in the comments, and I spoke to him and other marketers and other people growing their Instagram pages. They say like carousels is huge, and I can see that from your page. That's something that you very much implement. And I didn't really understand like why. I just thought that it would be cool, but it makes sense, because if you have a post where there's more engagement, more pictures, that means that the person that's looking at it is going to spend more time on it, right? That means that Instagram loves that, because they want you to be more entertained by the value that you're producing. And the more time that you have people engaging on your content, then I think Instagram is going to reciprocate that with having your post shown more. So let's talk about tactics for a second. So if anyone's starting a personal brand, and let's say, you're very comfortable, you're not scared of, like, you need to have a thick skin, obviously, first and foremost, to be on social media, right? But in terms of tactics, what are really important things? Of course, there's IG Reels, there's carousels. But if you're starting a personal brand right now, here and today, with 10 followers, what's the main principle, some golden nuggets to really grow a personal brand?
Yeah. So I think the first thing, which is a mistake I made, which is get on camera as quick as you can. Get on your stories, get on, whatever it is, mainly the stories, talk to the camera, and just give some value, whether you're teaching a subject, whether you're giving a behind the scenes, whatever it is, just show your face, show yourself. Because if you're a personal brand, you want people to connect with you. I'll give you a quick example why it works. The first time I'd done an actual story or a live or whatever it was, which is probably maybe 2 months ago now, just over 2 months. I kid you not, the day after, I had 10 leads for either coaching or my services or whatever. 10 leads the day after I went live on Instagram for the first time. Now, that wasn't a coincidence, because yes, I obviously get that amount of leads before, but I've never got 10 leads on one day, particularly not after a certain event. It's usually quite spread out. So that was proof to me that I'd made a huge mistake not getting on stories before. And forget about the leads. It's about the connections you build on social media as well. The one-to-one connections. Now, again, something people should bear in mind is that when you're building a personal brand, a lot of the time you can get this idea that you have to try and speak to everyone, and you have to try and build a huge community as fast as possible. The only way that's possible is if you nurture one-to-one relationships every day. So rather than trying to speak to 50 people, you only spend, say, instead of spending 1 hour trying to reach out to 50 people a day, 50 new people, you spend 1 hour reaching out to 10 people a day, for example. And you give them a lot of your time and you build those one-to-one relationships, because that relationship with one person can then become a relationship with 2 people, and then 5, and then 10, and it can really quickly build up. But only if you're being authentic, only if you actually care about that person, only if you're actually talking to that person and actually being on a genuine level with that person. Now, of course, that's not sustainable. So for me, I've got 90,000 followers. Of course, I've not spoken to every single one of them, but a lot of my sort of core community, I call it, the people who engage with my content, comment and whatever, I have spoken to them before. I've had these conversations with them. I know them by name. I know what they like. I know what they enjoy. I know all of these things about them. They know all the things about me. So we have that relationship. And only because of that core community was it possible to grow to the scale I have. So rather than focusing on a lot of people, focus on one person at a time. That's really key. Another thing is your content and not how good it is, not the quality of it. Obviously the quality does matter, but it's how unique it is. It really needs to be unique, myself included. There's other examples I could pluck out of a hat. When you change up your content and make it unique, that's when you stand out, and that's when you grow. And that's just a fact. It's an absolute fact. You look at the sort of the big influencers in your niche or anyone's niche, and you think, oh, okay, what is the one thing that stands out about all of them? They're all different. They're all different in their own unique way. And you can't find people who look the same as them. Or if there is anyone who looks the same as them, it's because they're trying to copy them, trying to imitate them. You'll never get, you might every so often, but you'll never get like 2 influencers who are exactly the same, in the same niche, look exactly the same. You just don't. You have to be unique to grow. So that's another key point. I could go on all day with points, but
I want to add something. Yeah. So, say you have 2 agencies and they're not built around a personal brand,
Mm-hmm.
Agency A, agency B, they offer the same, products and services and whatnot. And you can't really distinguish both of them, right? Maybe the website, right? But if those 2 agencies were built around 2 different people, around 2 different personal brands, mm-hmm. and they both offer the same products and services, now person A and person B, they have different variables in terms of what they like, what they don't like, their interests, and whatnot, right? And that can really distinguish the results you get for your business, right? And I'm pretty sure, like you've mentioned, you got a lot of indirect sales, indirect leads from, mm-hmm. talking about how you design toilets, right? Mm-hmm. And something along those lines too. If you just talk about whatever it is, your favorite football team, your favorite, chocolate bar, I don't know, you get mm-hmm. some sort of interest, people trust you more, and, you get potential leads and potential business results. And just going back to what you said, that's why I totally agree with the personal branding and being a business is almost nowadays essential. But I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to say it's essential, but you see a trend, right? Yeah. That you don't have to build a personal brand, but it's fair to say that it's strongly suggested nowadays to have a personal brand, because it could lead to business results, right?
Yeah. And sorry to interrupt, but it's just a very good point I want to make, which is that the thing with a personal brand, which I think is much better than a business, is that the people you attract for your business, potential leads, are reaching out to you because they want to work with you. Not because so let's say, for example, you're a business, you don't have a personal brand, you're a business, you offer social media marketing services, okay? Now, if someone reaches out to you, chances are they're also reaching out to 5 other businesses. Okay, so you're going to spend a lot of time on that person, trying to sell them your service, trying to get them to convert, and in the end they might not, or in the end they do convert, and then they get to know you, you get to know them, and the relationship breaks down because you don't like each other. It doesn't work. With a personal brand, that goes completely out the window. People that come to you because they like you already. They want to work with you. They understand your personality. They understand what you're good at or what you're bad at. So they're coming to you as a very hot lead. So the majority of people that come to you as a lead, you can convert most of them. You know, the conversion rates of inbound leads as a personal brand are far higher than the conversion rates of just a regular business.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another key thing. You know, you're getting rid of leads who actually aren't a good fit, and you're only bringing in people who are potentially a good fit. So it really does help the business in that sense.
And do you focus more on quality or quantity in terms of content creation?
It depends on your goals. When you're first starting out as maybe a business, for example, or even a personal brand, you need to find out what your audience likes, what you like to talk about, your processes, your systems, and all these things. So you need to post more once a day. That's what I say is the optimal amount, once a day, because you get feedback. And the feedback is so vital, not in the short term, maybe 1 or 2 months of posting every day, or 3 months, you get a lot of feedback on what people like or they don't like. You can then analyze that feedback, and then you can reduce and go to more of like a quality over a quantity approach, which is sort of what I'm actually doing at the moment. I'm not posting every day now. I'm posting once every other day. And that's partly down to my schedule, but at the same time, it's actually really helped me because I'm spending, you know, the same amount of time on my content as I was posting every day, but more time per piece of content. So more time thinking about what I'm going to create, more time thinking about the outcome for my audience, more time thinking, doing research, more time actually creating, making higher quality. And, you know, the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks I've been doing that, my engagement's gone up massively because I'm producing a better quality content. I'm thinking more about my followers. So there is a balance between quantity and quality, but a lot of it comes down to timing. A lot of it comes down to the size of your page and how engaged your followers are. And there is a lot more to it. You just have to find what works for you best, really.
And in terms of that feedback loop that you were mentioning, is it based off an intuitive sense, or do you really look at your analytics and you say, hey, for some reason on Mondays and Tuesdays during the evenings, I get a lot more engagement, so I'm going to post at this time at that date?
Yeah, it's both. It's both, but more the sort of the intuitive sort of. I just feel this content's doing better,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something you can only get that after posting every day, because you get to understand the reaction, you get to understand the velocity of engagement in the first hour, and how many shares, how many story reposts, and all these things which you can't really track on analytics. You can't track on analytics how many people commented in the first hour, or how many people shared this post in the first hour, for example, or how many people DM'd me saying this, asking about this specific subject, and so on and so forth. Like, you can't track those things. So a lot of it is you have to be very aware of what's going on with your content. You don't just post and then a day or a week later check the analytics and think, oh, how many likes has it got? How many shares? How many comments? Like, that's not how it works. And I hate that approach because it's too sort of mathematical, too scientific, and you can really lose track of the goal, which is to have impact on one person. Not thousands, just one person you need to have an impact on. And that's what people lose track of when they start looking at the analytics. Now, the analytics are good for that overall view, but that should only really be after a month of posting content, or 2 months of posting content, 3 months, for example. So me personally, I look at my analytics every so often just to see if there's any trends in terms of what content performs best over the long term, certain types of content, or I don't look at days, I don't look at times, I don't look at anything like that. It's just what content performs best. But on a day-to-day, that's where I get that's when you get the best feedback, is when you press post. That's the best feedback, when people are commenting. What are they saying? How fast are they engaging? Are they sharing it? All of these things that you just can't track with analytics.
Yeah, and I think, like you mentioned before, you have 90,000 followers, but you have a core set of followers, core set of fans. And if you really, serve them with a lot of entertainment and value, with those 1,000 fans, and that's going to cascade. You can have a snowball effect, and you're going to even grow even more, right? So of course you can be very analytical in terms of your followers, engagement and whatnot. But if you just follow the core principle of like just being yourself and producing value and just being genuine, being yourself, I think that trumps just the math, right? And it is important to have that aspect. Because I was curious myself. I never looked at my analytics at all until this morning, literally. And I was like, you know what? Let me take a look at it. I never looked at it, right? And I post videos every single time. I'm like, I post videos every single time because I repurpose the content from the podcast, right? And I actually look, the content that's has the most engagement were the static posts, like quotes. I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty interesting. And over 3 months, I'd never cared to look at the analytics. And, I did have that intuitive sense in the back of my head subconsciously that, oh, wow, like I do get more engagement, but now that I see it in front of me, like the actual math behind it, an actual visual representation of it, that just makes me, do more static content, instead of just repurposing the podcast and making video. So it is important to have both in that respect. Now, as a content creator, especially on Instagram, and with Reels coming along, you have a lot of carousels, and maybe that has hindered the overall growth of carousels. I'm not sure, right? Don't quote me on that. But do you kind of have a feeling that I can't just rely on one social media platform? 90K is a lot, but you can't be at the mercy of one platform. And of course, you have your new YouTube channel. And is that why you're trying to do that? Because you want to really diversify your personal brand across different platforms and not just rely on one?
Yeah, so essentially you have to be diverse as a personal brand or as a business, whoever it is. You have to be diverse. You have to use as many channels as possible. There's obviously a lot of benefits for that. But the issue is that if you're a personal brand, for example, you've only got yourself to create content, you've only got yourself to engage and do whatever. You believe me, if you're going to go all in on something, you only have the time and the energy to do one platform at a time. If I try to do Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn and, all the other ones at once, I would not be in this position today. I probably have 1,000 followers on one, 500 on another, 2,000 on it just wouldn't work. So you have to go all in on one to start with, and I understand that the idea that Instagram or YouTube is going to disappear tomorrow is nonsense. It's not going to disappear tomorrow. If it did disappear tomorrow, it will be because it's like the end of the world, right? And then it doesn't really matter about social media. So it's not going to disappear for a very long time. So you've got time. You need to be patient and just stick to one platform first. Become an authority on that platform. Become a master at whatever you're doing on that platform. And then once you've got more time because you've got more business, you're outsourcing work, whatever it might be, or because you've got a bigger following, you can reduce your output, you can do less engagement, whatever it is. As soon as that balance changes, then you can say, okay, where can I go next? And then it's time to think, right, now I've got to go all in on this platform while still maintaining this platform. And it's just a balancing act. It's a balancing act. But trying to do all social media platforms at once is a bad idea. But long term, yes, you do need all the platforms or as many as possible.
Yeah, I guess another case study to support that is, Charli D'Amelio from TikTok, right? I'm pretty sure before TikTok, I don't know if she had a huge following, a huge personal brand, but I think she was very, very aggressive on TikTok, right? That was her number one platform. She focused all her efforts on that. And, she blew up, right? I think she's still number one in terms of, followers on TikTok. But of course, naturally, as she started her Instagram page, maybe YouTube channel, Twitter, naturally, that's going to grow, right? Because you started on one platform, you grew that. And then through that, you diversified that through your other means, right? And when I first started off, to be honest, I was like, okay, what's hot right now? I'm going to literally do everything, but you do get so overwhelmed, right? And I think it's important to apply maybe the 80-20 principle where 80% of your time is allocated to what's hot. So for example, Instagram, TikTok, and then the other 20%, just in case, the organic reach goes down, you can still have or put some effort in your YouTube channel, for example, right? But
Mm.
as long as if you diversify or allocate your time evenly across different platforms, then you're not going to go anywhere, especially if you're working by yourself, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, that is important here. So now, of course, you said building community, the quality of the content is important. What other hidden gems do you think are important? Because like I said, about a week ago, over 2 weeks ago, really, I had no idea that carousels was such a powerful way to get more engagement, get more followers, get more likes, provide more value, right? Are there other means or methods that you implement to drive more engagement?
Yeah, I think that it's keeping things as natural as possible. And that might seem like a really weird piece of advice, but you find that a lot of people, when they're trying to grow on Instagram or get more engagement, is they start doing things very unnatural. They engage with 100 people in an hour. They leave comments on as many posts as possible. They're posting content 5 times a day, whatever it might be. It's very unnatural. The best thing you can do is keep things as natural as possible. Like I said, it's those one-to-one connections, and I say all the time, which really make the biggest difference. One new friend a day can lead to 1,000 new friends over a year, just from one person, for example, because of word of mouth, because of a mix of communities and referrals and people talking about your content, behind your back, and all these other things. So it's keeping things natural. It's talking to people. It's DMing, outreaching to people who you are actually interested in. It's talking to people who are in a similar niche to you, talking to people who you could actually see yourself talking to outside of Instagram. Because when you do that, every connection you build is worth something. Every connection you build, you can, if you wanted to, get feedback, honest feedback from that person, ask them about your content. And it's these little details which really make the difference. Because when it's fake, when it's not real, and then you can't really do anything. You can't get honest feedback from people. You can't, lean on people for help at all, or you can't have people won't come to you for advice, and your engagement will be fake because people are just doing it just for the sake of it, and all these other things. So it's the one-to-one connections, keeping things as natural as possible, and it's playing by the rules on Instagram as well. And that's what plays into being natural as well, is if you're doing too much, you get action blocked, or you can get restricted, you can get people end up blocking you, and all these other things. So play by the rules, keep things natural, focus on those one-to-one connections, and that honestly goes such a long way in helping you to grow and become a big player in your niche, or whatever it might be. But for me, the number one thing people have to focus on is their content. And for me, there is literally no question about what's the most important thing on Instagram, and it's content, overall. Now, obviously, at different stages of your growth and your page, engagement, for example, might outweigh the content. But overall, across the lifespan of your page, content is the defining factor on whether you succeed or not, and it has to be unique. I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, even though I am. But it's the biggest thing that people have to get into their heads, that if you're not unique, you don't stand out. No one looks at you. No one gives you a second look. No one cares. No one cares about average. No one cares about regular. No one cares about normal. They want something different. They want something exciting. So that's actually another little point there, which is being opinionated and saying your opinion, even if your opinion might cause offense. Obviously, don't be rude to people. I'm not saying that, but even if your opinion people might disagree with. So, for example, today I posted a milestone post, and milestone posts get a lot of hate because most people do most milestone posts, and I fed into this trap from sort of 1 to 10,000 followers. It's a bit of like a stroking your ego sort of thing. So, oh, look at me, I'm growing, I'm getting another 1,000 followers, and I get that, and I did sort of fall into that trap. But now my perspective has changed, and I use them for a different reason. I use them as a sort of celebration for people supporting me. I use them as a very clear mark on where I was at a certain time in my life. I have a lot of memories attached to certain milestones, and I look back and I analyze. But the point is in my post is that I stood up for milestones and why I believe you should post milestones. But a lot of people don't agree with that. And because they don't agree with it, they're going to engage. They're going to comment. They're going to leave their thoughts. And the people who do agree with it are going to reply to those comments and say, no, this is what I think. It creates conversation. It creates debate, which is what is great about social media. So you have to be slightly polarizing. That's the word, polarizing, in what you talk about. Because if you try and sit on the fence on a subject, then like I said, no one really cares. So you have to pick a side. And of course, your side can change over time, but you have to pick a side. Some people might not like it. Some people will love it. But that's the key to getting good engagement and good growth.
Yeah, I think there's a small hack thing saying that if you post controversial content, then you're going to get a lot of engagements, right? But you can't just overdo it because, it can look bad on you depending on what you post, right?
Yeah,
Now,
of course.
when you work with, small business owners, personal brands, more specifically business owners, do you try to create or tell them like, look, I want this brand to be revolved around you. So let's create content around your personal brand. If not, do you just create content around their business?
It depends on them, because I will always have an opinion. And with all my clients, I will always tell them my opinion on what I think would be best for their goals. So for example, if they're saying we want to get more inbound leads for our business, and for example, this is my personal brand, I already have, say, 20,000 followers, talking about what I love, and this is our business page, we're starting from scratch, then of course I'd say, look, your personal brand, you've got a good following already, talking about your business, let's try and push it a bit more. And of course, I would try and push them in certain directions, but at the end of the day, what the client wants, you have to listen to, you have to give them not always exactly what they want, you have to give your opinion, but they're paying you for a service. And if they want you to boost their business page, for example, then that's what you do. But obviously it then changes your strategy. So you just have to be flexible. If you are someone who's offering that service, you have to be flexible. You have to understand that what works for a personal brand doesn't always work for a business page, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So you have to understand the two, and listen to your client and adjust from there. Give your opinion and just talk and find what works best for both parties.
So when you work with a business, so you have to be very familiar with Facebook ads, because organic reach alone may not drive results, right?
Yeah, again, this really depends on the business. If it's an online business, maybe it's e-commerce, or maybe it's like some sort of educational business who sells courses online, then actually organic could be enough. Because when you post organic, it can go to anyone in the world. You can engage with anyone in the world. You've got a very sort of big audience who you can try and find on Instagram organically. But if it's like a brick and mortar, like a local business, it then becomes very difficult to get in front of people in your local area. So in that instance, yes, I would recommend, well, let's look into Facebook ads, only a small amount, just to drive targeted traffic to the page and make sure that every new follower you're getting is in your local area. And that's worked, very well. I've done it with a client before. And for example, they were only on 200 followers when we started, and we've done a very small campaign. We got their followers up to 600 followers from this paid ads campaign. And that's it. We didn't want to grow anymore. I said, this is important now that we keep it as this, deliver value all the time. And this was just when the first lockdown happened in the UK. And we're giving out valuable content. And once we come out of that lockdown and their business opened up again, it's a childcare business. I'm not saying the name because of privacy, but it's a childcare business. Once they opened up and they opened up their service again, they said, Harry, we couldn't believe the amount of new customers we had. New customers. I said, oh, that's strange. Why do you think that is? Where do you think they've come from? And they said, without a doubt, through social media, because we targeted them directly, gave them all the value, particularly when they needed it during the lockdown. And as soon as they opened back up after lockdown, that was it. We didn't have to run any paid ads to these people. They knew us through the organic content we were producing. And that's it. Just like that, we grew their business from that.
Yeah, I feel, a lot of people who own boutiques or, retail stores, um, they're not probably older than, they're not millennials or Gen Z. And it can take a while for them to learn, social media or look at the benefits of it. Right. And
Mm.
of course, they don't know what it can offer. And if they do know social media, I mean, I don't know, they probably just think that's for memes or for whatever. Right. But in reality, social media can be used as a source of business. Right. And I
Yeah.
think that anyone who's starting like an agency, and people might think, yo, like it's saturated, right? Like creating an agency, a marketing agency is saturated, but the reality is, so many businesses are coming up, right? And a lot of them fail, a lot of them die, and a lot of new ones come up, right? And I don't think retail is dead, but point is, a lot of these people, they don't know much about social media marketing, and they might be too busy. They might be too busy to even do that themselves. So they need that service to really, drive business results, especially
Mm.
today. Right now, e-commerce is, running everything. Retail stores are, limited, in terms of like operations and whatnot.
Mm.
So yeah, if you can like create a service around e-commerce, even, you can provide a lot of value. So when do you mainly do local restaurants or all around the UK, or do you like to do everywhere across the world?
Yeah, I don't sort of pick and choose at the moment anyway where or who I'd work with, as long as they're a good fit in terms of can I get results for them?
Mm-hmm.
Do I like them? Do they like me? Can I do the work for them? But as long as they fit all that sort of criteria, then I'll work for anyone. I've got a client in Australia, got clients in America, I've got clients in the UK. It's international, which is such an amazing thing, again, about being a personal brand or doing the social media thing, which is that this idea that there's too much competition or that it's too much of a crowded space. Like it, again, that's just something else which is nonsense. Like there's so much out there. Like there will never be a time when it's too crowded. And that seems like quite a strange thing to say, but it's the truth. Because if things ever got too crowded, well then, okay, what about every single clothing store, for example, that you see? Every new clothing store that pops up. Well, there's so many other people creating clothes and selling clothes. Doesn't mean it's too packed, for example, or shoes or food or whatever it is. There's always people out there. There's what, 6-7 billion people on the planet. You need, I mean, it obviously depends on people's goals, but you might only need 1 or 2 clients to be happy out of 7 billion people. Like it just baffles me that people think it's too much of a crowded space. It's not. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I just quickly come back to that point of being unique, because that's the key thing. The reason people feel it's too crowded, maybe they start posting, they're not getting results. The reason they feel it's too crowded is because they're blending into the crowd which already has business or whatever. You can't get business from the crowd. You have to stand out from that crowd. So everyone within that crowd says, oh, well, who's that over there? Let's go and have a look. It's being unique. It's the key thing. The key thing on social media and Instagram is you have to be unique. You have to get people's attention. And that would be harder. The longer you leave it to get on social media, it becomes harder. Not impossible. It will never be impossible. It just becomes harder.
Yeah, people say a saturated market, that can be their excuse, but in reality, just being unique, adding a different touch to your idea is what makes it. So I just want to see on IG Live, we haven't looked at it really, but I want to see if anyone has any questions in terms of like marketing tactics or how to start an agency maybe. I'll just give like a couple seconds, maybe a minute, to see if anyone's interested or has any questions on that topic. But just rolling what you kind of said, just reiterating what I'm saying here is, if you create an agency with a specific name and not your personal brand, and you can offer the same product or service, but if you blend in the twist of your personal brand, you can have the right to post content about yourself and not something that's entirely around the business. Because even Gary Vee says, literally, because he was a Jets fan, he got some clients out of that, right? Just posting stuff about him being a Jets fan. And he told us that he also turned down clients because they're Patriots fans. I mean, that's not good, but yeah, I mean, just showing a different side of you, connecting with people. And then once you have that initial rapport with someone, you can eventually get down to business, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. Oh, we didn't get any questions. The only question I got is like, what's your name? My name is Andres, and I'm with Harry.
I think just looking at the comments, everyone's saying it was echoing quite a bit.
Oh,
So that's
yeah.
probably why people are jumping on and being like, I'm not listening to this because it's echoing so much.
Oh, no, it's all right. Just to provide context here. Like, yeah, I legit told you last second. It wasn't planned at all. In terms of doing the IG live.
It's
But,
worth trying, isn't it? Worth trying.
no, yeah. Have you been on IG live before?
Yeah. I've been doing quite a few. Yeah, they usually work well, but it is hard. Sometimes you do get technical issues. You get people
Oh, yeah.
echoing, or you get people's batteries dying or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's.
But you do need headphones, right? Just just for reference, so you don't hear the echoing voice. Because when you have two devices playing at the same time, that's when you hear the echo. But if you have headphones,
If you've got headphones, usually it's fine.
Okay,
usually
just a point of reference here. All right, and so yeah, Harry, I don't want to take too much of your time here. So if people want to find you, want to hit you up, ask for marketing advice, because I know you do one-on-one business coaching as well. You have a new YouTube channel. So where can people find you and hit you up?
Yeah, but best place is right on my Instagram. So at the Harry Needham. If you're not following already, or if you're not following me already, just send me a DM or comment on one of my posts. I'll see it. And yeah, that's the best place to reach me right now.
Awesome. So in the show notes, I'll put the link to your Instagram and your YouTube channel as well. So
yeah, please, that'd be amazing.
So yeah, I'll do that for sure. All right, Harry.
Cool.
So it was a pleasure talking to you, man.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Appreciate the
Oh
time.
yeah, and